So there are 6 cases in Latin: nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative, and vocative. We are starting out simple by learning only 2 of them: the nominative, which is the normal case of the subject of the verb, and the genitive, which is usually used to show possession. We also kept it simple by learning only the singular of these 2 cases. Now we're going to add the plural. So here's what you've learned so far. You've learned 2 declensions, the first and the second. The first declension nominative ending is a, as in puella, and the genitive singular ending is a, as in puelle. The second declension masculine and neuter endings differ only in the nominative singular. Masculines end in us, neuters end in They share the genitive singular ending e, and you'll find that they share most of the rest of their endings as well. So these are the plurals, and complications arise since there are some identical forms, as you can see. The nominative plural of first declension nouns and adjectives is the same as the genitive singular a. So when I say puelle, I might either be using the nominative plural or I might be using the genitive singular. Likewise, the masculine second declension nominative plural is e, domini, which is also the genitive singular ending, domini. To make it even worse, the nominative plural of neuter nouns ends in a short a, which is also the nominative singular of first declension nouns. So, the good news is that the genitive plural of these nouns is very distinctive. Aurum for first declension, and aurum for all second declension nouns. So context is key. So the big question is, since you've got a number of forms that are identical, how do I know if I'm looking at the genitive singular or the nominative plural? And in some cases, how do I know I'm looking at the nominative plural of a neuter or nominative singular of a feminine? So context, as I said, is key. More specifically, you have to remember a few facts about a Latin sentence. First, remember that there can only be one subject of the verb. Unless we're talking about apposition, that is always going to be the case. That's true in English as well. It's in the nature of a verb that it can only describe one actor or group of actors. That means that there can only be one noun in the nominative or one group of nouns that describe one group of people, or there can only be one set of one or more nouns that are all referring to the same thing. In any case, the number of the verb is always going to tell you what you're looking at. Secondly, remember that the noun that is the subject of the sentence, the one that is in the nominative, has to agree in number with the verb. Nouns and verbs share only one aspect, and that is that they are singular or plural. Some pronouns actually have person as well, but most nouns and adjectives only share number with a verb. So let's look at a basic sentence using the words we already know. Filia domini est nauta. So let's look at each of the nouns in the sentence and categorize them first. We have filia, which we know has to be nominative singular, since we know that filia is a first declension noun meaning daughter. Then we have domini, which we know now could be nominative plural masculine. And we have nauta, which is also first declension, but it's nominative masculine. So any of these nouns could be the subject of the sentence or a predicate. Here's a mistake a beginning student of Latin might make. He might say, well, if domini is masculine and nauta is masculine, then they must go together, right? So this is saying something about masters being sailors. So that is incorrect. And the reason it's incorrect is because if domini is nominative, it's plural, but nauta is singular. We cannot equate things that are not the same number without good reason. As I've told you, sometimes it's not necessary to equate things in the same number. But in this case, there's no reason. What we have to consider is that domini might also be genitive singular masculine. We could consider that, and we should keep it in mind for later, but it's easier to do what we ought to do with every Latin sentence. In fact, this is the golden rule for figuring out the meaning of a Latin sentence. Start with the verb. Always, always, always start with the verb. Here, the verb is a form of sum, est, which is third person singular. If a verb is third person, it means that we can look for a subject in the nominative. If it is first or second person, that means we already have a subject, I or you, and there may be more information about me or you, but not necessarily. Here we do want to find a subject in the nominative, and we want it to match the number of the verb. The verb is singular, so we need a singular nominative subject. Can philia be that subject? Yes, it can. In fact, that's all philia can be. It couldn't possibly be any other case. It's a feminine first declension noun, and it ends in a, so it has to be nominative singular. So we have our subject. The search is over. Everything else in the sentence has to serve some other function. So by process of elimination, domini is most likely genitive singular and means of the master. By the same token, nauta is likely a predicate noun, something we will talk about later this week. So this sentence means the master's daughter is a sailor. Here's some more examples of how many different meanings one sentence can have. So let's take the sentence, filii domini sunt. The verb is plural, so that means that either filii or domini is the subject in the nominative. It is possible that domini and filii are in apposition, in which case we might be saying, there are the sons, the masters. In other words, there are those sons. Which sons? The ones that are masters. So that might just be a case of apposition. But likely one or the other is the subject. If the sons are the subject, then dominus is likely in the genitive singular, in which case we have a sentence like, there are the sons of the master, or they are the sons of the master. Conversely, the masters could also be the subjects, in which case the son, a singular, genitive singular son, would be their possession. So they are the masters of the son. They are the son's masters. They're the son's masters. They are the masters of the son. We might also be looking at a predicate genitive, in which case the idea is that sons are the masters. In other words, the sons belong to the master. Or it could be the other way around. Lastly, we could also be looking simply at a predicate noun. The masters are the sons, or the sons are the masters. So context is key in this situation, but it's important to note how malleable the Latin language is and how much meaning it allows. You really will need to have a context for a sentence that makes sense and likely go for the most sensible translation in English.